Hey guys, here's Game V2 with another commentary. This one's on another battle I did. This one is also against NacroxNicke. And, I'm playing as the Romans. And, I use in this battle, I do something not a lot of people use, and I can see why, is use these hastati. A lot of hastati. I don't understand why these guys always seem to underperform. I mean, they have high numbers, and they have excellent morale. I guess they just don't have the killing power of barbarians. But aside from that, they're pretty solid. I guess just because I think it's a flaw in my system, the way I've set it up. I've put too much emphasis on the high-end units like this, or the middle high-end units, like the elites are too expensive, but these guys are in the right cost range where they're affordable, but at the same time, they're also insanely good. And they trounce units like this, and you really have a system of two real tiers: the tier of the mid to high elite troops, and a few elite troops that are quite good, like the Petites Extraordinary. And you have the Nietos, which fall into the category I mentioned, and you have these hastati, which are mainly useful as the fodder for the main line. And that's something I really do think should be fixed. I'm trying to fix this effect to find EV now. And I haven't necessarily tested out the system, but once we get to testing in April, we'll see if I succeeded or not. Anyways, I have 8 units of hastati, 2 units of Nietos, 2 units of Petites Extraordinari, 2 of Liguriaepos, and 2 of Equites Campaniki, and a unit of Akensi, and 1 Consularis bodyguard. And I have a couple Numidian skirmishers as well. For the opposition, we got 1 unit of the Clone of Ghaznazio, which Necrox seems to like a lot. I don't think he uses them right, though. Ghaznazio are good for moving out like this, screening, taking casualties, and stuff like that. But I don't think they really should be used to javelin the front. Rather, units like this should be after the main line engages. You should move them to the flanks and use them either to javelin the enemy's cavalry or get in a flank attack on the enemy infantry. I think the reason they were used like this historically is not necessarily because these were the most effective way to use them, but because of logistical reasons. You didn't have an infinite view of the battlefield like you do in this, and because of this you'd send out some units that you wouldn't mind losing. You wouldn't mind having a few of these guys killed off, and they could potentially do some damage to the enemies, but more importantly obtain information for you. Same in this circumstance. I just send this hastati to go kill all these Ghaznazio. And I do a decent job with them at it. I think I put my cavalry on the wrong flank in this battle. I put them on this flank, but there's no room for them to operate effectively. It's a miracle they weren't all slaughtered. I think if Nick played a bit better, he could have gotten all my cavalry. But he doesn't seem to be in favor of bringing too many cavalry. He's got a lot of expensive horsemen. He's got the Remi Marepos. And if you want to use the Remi, having them as the mainstay of your cavalry force isn't a good idea. I would take 1, and I would take several lighter horsemen to support them. Because you can't have a heavy cavalry unit operate on its own, otherwise it gets destroyed. But when you have other units working with them, other lighter cavalry units, then you can clear a path through other enemy horsemen, and weaken enemy infantry enough so that your cavalry can take them down as a team. Now, another mistake I think he made is that he chose Milnot as the main of his army. As I mentioned, I don't like using 80-man units as the main, and there's still a lot of 80-man units in EV, and I still prefer to use them on flanks and other places where they certainly are more vulnerable to javelins, but also that's where you tend to focus, and if you don't focus on these units, you can get them chopped up pretty easily. Now, I put these guys on the flank, meaning to march around with them, and take out the Argios with them, and then flank the enemy. He has his main reserve thing of infantry on the right. I assumed he was going to do the same. I don't know what he's doing with these guys. If he wanted to shoot, I would have shot by now. Sorry, I seem to be a bit sick when I do these videos. It's kind of weird. Anyways, so he does start his assault on that flank, and he begins to throw all of his javelins. Weaken my army. It doesn't weaken it too much because he throws from maximum distance, which I think is a mistake. However, the accuracy factor isn't as big a deal in this game. Although I intend to make javelin accuracy more important in EB-NOM, thus making throwing javelins at flanking enemies a worse idea. I do move in a force of Hastati to flank him, and he wisely pulls back. I begin to launch my assault. He pulls back to counter, and then he launches his assault in the center. But he gets bogged down by his own Ghaznazio, and I'm able to get in a close-range javelin volley and disrupt his charging Milnot. Charges aren't as effective as I'd like them to be. This, again, another thing I'm trying to fix. Over here, he moves in his Badaroi to flank. I do not use my skirmishers that effectively, although he turns his Badaroi to the side, and I am able to get in an effective volley or two. You can see the effects of this close up. He also isn't able to use his cavalry effectively to cut my cavalry off. And because of my nearby Numidians, these Battarois get decimated before they can seriously threaten my horsemen. So I don't know why that volley didn't do so much. Back to the main battle. The Hastati in guard mode. I think I do use them wrongly when I put them in guard mode. They're not really meant to do that. I think other people may be using them wrongly too when they do that. But anyways, the Milnot start to use their superior melee skills well. I engage on the flank. I don't engage these guys as effectively as I'd like to, but I do manage to flank the Argos, which is the reason to beat them, because attacking on the front against them is not going to work. But if you get around their flank, then you can beat them easily. Here, the enemy, Nacrox does a very good thing, and he puts in his cavalry and infantry together to take on my cavalry, especially he's a large units of spearmen. And he runs over my Numidian skirmishers fairly quickly. He does glob up his units, but I don't take advantage of this as well as I wish I had. I managed to sneak around and get in among his Germanic cavalry. And I managed to get my cavalry out of harm's way, though not without damage. They've lost 20% of their strength. My Lurians, however, do get routed. However, his Gylach, I think, don't manage to turn the flank, and my my unit here is well positioned to deal a lot of damage. I also get in a good charge with my Consier cavalry. It'll do some decent damage. Over here, where I attempted to flank, I managed to crack through with these Hastati, which is very important, because as you can see, the rest of my Hastati are getting destroyed. And the enemy is quickly coming around with large units of spearmen. So I'm in big danger of getting flanked. And especially with all these enemy cavalry running up behind me, I'm getting in very big trouble very quickly. His Brehenten get in behind me, and You see one unit go to route, another unit routes. This one's going to go very soon. Yep, there it goes, that unit goes. And it's only these units on the end near the general that survive. So if you look at this position, I just look like I'm in terrible shape. All I have is, on my units, my center has been completely smashed, so is my left flank. What's holding out, however, is my right flank, where I have fresh units of Peditus, and his Argos still have not given way, but I've dealt... killing almost half of an Argos unit this quickly is still decent. And the place where I tried to flank, I have a numerical advantage against the Milnot, and I'm not getting completely destroyed. Another thing I have going for me is that he never gets rid of these Akensi, and they're just able to shoot the whole battle long against the Remy Marepos. And you can just see how much damage the close range fire does. The other thing is the fact that I brought a large contingent of well-armored infantry means that my right flank holds. So these are the cards I have to play. The other card I have to play is that some of my cavalry did manage to escape and charge in. And I managed to completely surround his Argos unit. And actually begin to do some damage. I clear out with all these troops as soon as the Gaelach come in. And get as many units against them as I can, so I can try to rout them quickly. They do manage to hold firm for some time, but not forever, as you can imagine. Now over here is where things are very precarious. My general's in of a position, and I have only this unit of Nietos to fight with. However, he does make a big mistake in leaving this unit of Picton Nietos so far away. They have a very valuable fear effect that probably could have routed my troops if he had gotten them in there. So you got 2 units routing. If you had a fear effect, you might have been able to cause a chain rout. Instead, he still... I guess he did manage to get rid of the Akensi at some point. I do get to stop gap with these Hostati, though. These Ligurians eventually do get killed off, though. And another mistake he makes is he loses Brehent in there and doesn't do anything with them. If he played correctly, see, he starts to move them around to get in a charge on my Peditus. But I believe I noticed this. I noticed this in time. And I move my Kapaniki around to engage. And my other unit of Ligurians, which recovered, gets to charge in on the back of these enemies and stab them to death. And he doesn't. And he does use the Gaelach to throw javelins. I don't think he moves in close enough, but I don't think that's that important. Still probably could have done a better job though. But because I think he might have been a little slow to fall upon his victory, eventually I managed to surround and kill off enough of his Argos that I can finally get my elites into the main fight over here. And with that, with my elites fighting against units of Gaelach and Picton Nietos and Milnach, it's not going to be necessarily a fair fight, especially as I'm the only one with a large cavalry force left. Anyone else found it funny that it's the Romans using heavy swords to fight off the Gauls? And see, even at this point in the battle, it's still rather precarious, because he does have a lot of men. He has more men than I do. But the thing is, I do have all these units spread out everywhere that I'm able to use effectively, and his spearmen can't effectively chase my horsemen. And the other asset I have, obviously, is that I have elite infantry remaining, where he does not. There's only his general left in that unit, and as soon as I get my infantry from that other fight around, he begins to break. His units begin to rout. However, these units are low numbers, but all he's got left is Guylatch, and so from this point it's a foregone conclusion. It was a well-fought battle, though. Nacrox is pretty new, I think, but he's quite good. And he seems to understand the basic grasp of EB things. He could work on his micromanagement a little bit more. As could I. I'm kind of rusty myself. You can see, just look at the most kills, Nietos, the elite infantry, and some of the Hastati got a lot of kills too. This one got 98, this one got 95. Some of them not so much. And the cavalry got a good number of kills as well. Anyway, look at all those kills from the slingers too. It's impressive. Anyways, a good game, and I hope to see you guys later with more battles. Hopefully the next battles I'll be bringing you are of Europe.